I want to make one thing perfectly clear before we begin. It's Aldas votil havnar ogvar manoganan ogva manoganan not that melty min modir at mir skuli kalpa fleogva grarar farar brot med vikingum. Stända upp i stapni, stirra derom knäri, haldas vad till havna. If you haven't figured out who we're talking about yet, get your skinniest black chinos, put on your crispy Air Force Ones. We're diving back into Peyton Parrish, for fuck's sake. This is I Am Heathen, and so can you. Warning! The content provided in this episode may be viewed as offensive to some. If you or anyone you know finds this episode or the bulk of this podcast offensive, we recommend going to your nearest religious institution or windowless room where the ills of the world cannot harm your piteously fragile way of thinking. You have been warned.
I'm anxious. You know what that comes from? The devil. A thought comes from the devil. Do you know like it's from the devil? If you can't, you fight back the devil. When you fight back the devil, it's either a vessel for God or you're a vessel.
The devil? Everything is the devil to you, mama!
Thanks, Adam Sandler. I'll take it from here. Welcome back to another very special episode of I Am Heathen, and so can you. I am your host, third best beard on TikTok, Mjolnir fetishist and Havamal enjoyer, Einar. If you listen to our Open Lines episode from a couple of weeks back, you'll know that we discussed the healing power of music, the community-creating power that music can provide and deliver, and the repercussions of when that power, that medicine, that ability to heal through the pure enjoyment and love of music goes bad. You'll also know that Peyton Parrish was, by and large, the basis of our conversation and case study. Now, there are multiple arguments floating around the internet, both for, against, and in the middle regarding the Peyton Parrish argument. And I think that one of the, come on guys, really ass arguments that's popped up about Peyton recently is the, come on guys, we're pagans, we all knew he was Christian. And you know what? For some of us out there who knew this and are still angry, I might be able to give you that one. But I spoke not for people who've been on their paths for years, not for people who've been producing pagan-centric music, but rather the people new to their path. The people who used platforms like TikTok and Instagram as a tool to consume pagan-centric media and as a tool to expose themselves to other pagan-centric things on the internet. And I know personally when I first took to pagan spaces on social media that Peyton Parrish's Viking-themed music was everywhere. There was not a day that didn't go by where I didn't hear Valhalla calling me 15 fucking times. Now, did I find his music decent? Did I find his music worth keeping on a playlist? No. I didn't bitch about it. I didn't moan about it. A lot of people I know in the early days found him extremely, extremely cringy. People said he was a Christian doing this for money, and while I happen to think that's pretty fucking litigious, it is what it is. But very much like that clip that Adam Sandler saw fit to interrupt, if you haven't seen him on social media recently, Peyton Parrish has abandoned his Viking music route, his roots of Viking music and Disney covers, to go full-blown Amy Grant with a chip on her shoulder Christian music. Now, I'm not here to piss on the quality of the music, because Plenty of people have done that. But the fact of the matter is, it's not the music. It's the rhetoric he's spouting in his live streams. He is proselytizing to the point where certain Southern revival ministers would salivate and want to co-opt his following. He has said, in regard to Halloween, which is in exactly 6 days at this point, that it is the most evil, dark time of year, that Satanist churches, Satanists, and pagans are killing babies, drinking blood, and sacrificing things to Satan. Which isn't the fucking case, but okay, go off, Queen. And he then went on to say things like, you really shouldn't be taking vaccines, they can mess up your genetics. To paganism isn't real, how can you be part of a religion that doesn't exist? Or it's dark, it's demonic. Throwing out that Christian fundamentalist word salad to condemn things that aren't Christian. I want to make one thing completely clear when I say this. I don't have an issue with Christianity. I have an issue with Christians. Because at the end of the day, the doctrine itself, save for a few things, could be beautiful if interpreted and put forward properly. But unfortunately, we don't live in a perfect world, and unfortunately, that perfect world will never, ever be achieved, and that doctrine will remain perverted, co-opted, and bastardized by humanity until the sun decides to plummet from the sky. Now, the thoughts have occurred to me listening to Peyton Parrish's spiel. And given we live in America in 2025 and Christian nationalism, the desire to make Christianity the state religion, to inject Christian values into governance, is very much a problem, is very much an issue and a threat. Having an influencer like Peyton Parrish, who was sitting on, I believe, about 5 million followers at this recording, condemning pagans and saying we're evil and we kill children, is fucking dangerous. He doesn't seem to realize that it's the literal equivalent of yelling fire in a crowded movie theater. That everything he is saying could potentially radicalize a follower to go to a pagan festival, to walk into a metaphysical shop, cause damage, hurt, and at worst, potentially kill someone. And the unfortunate heart of the issue, because we live in this country, his religious freedom is intertwined with our freedom of speech. And he would face little to no jail time if someone did those things and admitted that it was his rhetoric that made them do it. I remember a similar case from the left-hand path occultist and magician E18, whose rhetoric and teachings convinced a 19-year-old kid to sign his soul away on the dotted line in blood for winning lottery tickets. And that blood came at the cost of 2 women that were brutally murdered in a park. Coetting has yet to claim responsibility for it. Coetting has yet to say, my rhetoric had a hand in this. This is terrible. I don't care if you have 5,000, 500,000, 5 million followers on a social media platform. You have a responsibility to your followers to not guide them, but to be the best version of you possible. To not pander to the lowest common denominator, to not yank down that low-hanging fucking fruit. Now, a lot of people are saying that Peyton Parrish is a grifter. No shit. He's admitted first saying he did it to fill his wallet, to fill his coffers, and now that he's had his big old Christian revival, he's saying that the Viking thing was part of his testimony. There are certain numbers among us out there who are saying, okay, Peyton, put up or shut up. If you're abandoning the Viking thing, if you're abandoning that previous spiritual way of life, donate the money you made from the Viking thing to charity. If you're capable of nuance and capable of understanding, we all know he won't. That's unfortunate, but one of the questions that remains to me is very few people still understand, very few people still grasp the fact that we are looking at a cult of personality whose followers don't listen. A cult of personality who hang on to a man's every single stinking word. You're not depressed, it's the devil. Vaccines can change your genetics. Pagans drink blood. While this rhetoric is not at all new, it echoes certain names and certain actors throughout history, and I can think of none other than people like Jim Jones. I can think of none other than people like Pastor Gregory Locke, who said not just 5 years ago that autism doesn't exist, it's demonic possession. But it's not the science denial for me that is the cause of my ire enough to release this episode. It is the sheer and utter knowledge that if this is not a scam and he has gone down the full-blown Christian fundamentalist pipeline, he has become a danger to everyone that is not Christian. He could easily turn around and say, Jews are evil. He could easily turn around and say Muslims are evil. Or he could wrap up Jews, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists in with us Norse pagans and witches and Celtic pagans and say and completely fully preach that Christianity is the one true, only religion and we need to be purged. It's not to sound alarmist because that is one of the most extreme examples of something that could happen. Now, this also echoes to me the satanic panic of the 90s, where Christian groups everywhere were raiding comic shops to buy Dungeons and Dragons and burn them, saying it opened portals to hell. Police videos of men standing next to tables with women in bikinis who had pentagrams written on their stomachs in lipstick saying, satanic cults usually like to attack here, here, and here. And people were afraid to be themselves because there was not a clear definition of what was satanic. Very much like then, as it is now, the words dark and demonic in Christian circles are thrown around about anything. Anything that can be seen as objectionable by a Christian could be viewed as dark, demonic, and evil. And this means that pagans are not just the target. It means that we are all the target. Pagans of every stripe, witches, Jews, Muslims, any religion that is not Christian could be turned and decried as demonic and evil on a whim. And that, in and of itself, is fucking terrifying. I very much wanted to come on here today and roast Peyton Parrish into unrecognizability, but this isn't a time for that. This is a time for level-headed, open, and honest discussion from pagans to pagans and witches to witches. Because while this rhetoric may be a lot less closer to the fringes of society, and it's pushing into normal and somewhat acceptable circles. It is to the point where, even as a New Yorker, in a city where nobody gives a fuck what religion you are, where this may become a problem. And for the first time in my life, outside of leaving the Jewish faith behind, I'm coming to thinking about, should I keep my Mjolnir in my shirt? Should I run the risk of a Christian getting annoyed or offended by my presence? Will a Christian who is potentially hiring me cost me my job? And if I were to say something about it, could be, well, his religion didn't align with my values. And we're left at an unfortunate, pretty shitty fucking impasse. So, what do we do? What do we as pagans and witches do in the face of hatred like this, in the face of being targeted for what we believe in, whether we've been targeted or not? And I think the answer is pretty fucking simple. First and foremost, reach out to larger pagan organizations and ask what they're doing to support the pagan community. Reach out to your friends. If they're not in New York and they're somewhere where, if they're not in New York, or a big city, I should say, where the risk is a lot less for them to be mistreated or outright potentially attacked for being a pagan, reach out to them, check on them, see what you can do, see, and if there is a way to help them get out of a shitty situation, do it. Thirdly, if there is a group, if there are arrests for these things, help put together a legal fund. If you're in a kindred and your kindred is big and it charges dues and people start getting arrested for being pagans, not saying it's going to happen, but it could. Put together a legal fund. Save yourselves a lot of headaches. Save yourselves a lot of problems. Be fucking prepared. But outside of the dark, alarmist shit, if you're capable of having a serious sit-down conversation, or even a casual one with a Christian who is your friend, your coworker, and your religion is brought up and you're asked what you believe, have a frank discussion with them and highlight the fact that, very much like Christians, pagans come from all and every walk of life, and humanize the religion by showing people who you are. The person listening to this on Midgard, actual and whole. Not this testosterone-fueled, I am Viking! Yeah! None of that. Show people who you are as a person. Show them the creative. Show them the writer, the passion that drives you forward, the love of nature, the love of family, the love of community. Quell those beliefs that you're drinking baby smoothies for protein after the gym. Quell those beliefs that you bathe in the blood of virgins. Quell those idiotic fucking beliefs that are put forth by us. Because, to my summation, this isn't going to be some grandiose movement. This isn't gonna be some grandiose thing where sweeping legislation is just gonna take over the country overnight. This is gonna be a long, slow, arduous ass slog. And it's not gonna fall to one of us. It's gonna fall to all of us. Whether you're in New York, whether you're in Oregon, whether you're in California, to lift up your fellow pagans and be that light in the darkness. I'm going to be covering more of these Christian incursions into our spaces, so to speak, as I find out more about them. I know I'm going to be doing this. But what I think needs to be said more than anything is what side of the aisle you're on at this point if you have a hammer around your neck, because Republican and conservative pagans are just as at risk as we are. Whether you're LGBTQIA+ and a heathen, whether you're brand new to this path, whether you're still busting your ass to shed the damage that the church did to you, the hurt caused by the church. You are loved, you are valued, you are respected, and you are appreciated. So long as the gods are in your heart and in your mind, you're here and welcome. Now, as we usually end these things, that's all the time we have for today. Tune in next week, and in fact, tune in all weeks, every Thursday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, for more pagan-themed drive time content. You can find me on TikTok, Lemonade, Red Note, Instagram, and YouTube, soon coming, at Chef Einar Blackthorn. That's Chef, Chef, Einar, Einar, Blackthorn, Blackthorn. And you can find me on all your favorite podcast platforms. Like we do at the end of every one of these shows, if you have a drink in your hand, raise it up and repeat after me. Hail the gods, hail the folk, hail the spirits, hail the ancestors, and most importantly, hail yourselves. You know, I was finally asked why I always end that toast with hail yourselves. The answer is simple. Without us, without the modern pagan movement, our faiths would be relegated to dusty tomes, and it would just be another curiosity of mythology nerds the world over. Removing the cultural elements in certain areas of Scandinavia, of course, but this faith, and very much like this podcast, we wouldn't be able to do it without any of you. I want to thank all of you for being here this week. This was a very much needed conversation that needed to be had. And remember, the pagans are coming.